This is another update for the Anfracuous project, which is a interactive dance media piece that is a collaboration between myself, Martin Jarmick, and the choreographer Jennifer Salk. And this video is really to illustrate some of the progress that I've made technically on the work. Progress is pretty slow. Both Jen and I are working on this part-time or in some cases below part-time. So progress is slow, but it's important to document and talk about some of these progress, however small it is. So you can see here that I have Unity open again. I'm still working in Unity and really trying to get some of the foundational mechanics and video playback working, so we can start to build content around the system. So I'm actually going to open up the level that we looked at in the last video. Now I'm going to run this scene. So this is similar to the last video. This content looks similar to the last video. Again, please keep in mind that these videos, like this purple and blue panels, these are videos, right? And if I click on either panel, it activates them. And once a panel is activated, I can do this sort of scrubbing mechanic through them. And if I activate this one, I can scrub through that. Now, keep in mind that this content, this human body, sort of abstracted, distorted human body with the blobs, with the colors, this is placeholder media. So as I'm talking about some of this stuff and illustrating some of the technology that we're working on, just try to keep in mind that the content is going to be more cinematic in nature, right? So we're going to be working with spaces and bodies and with lots of different types of angles. And so when so right now we're using this as just placeholder to kind of build the system and get things working. So similar to the last post, you can see that there's this scrubbing going on, and as I scrub through, you could see that there's these moments where the human form turns white, and that's really just for us to see where these points are, these like correlative points. Okay, so I'll trigger this one and then scrub through and find where those two meet. And it looks like right there. So this is an important piece of progress here, because this wasn't here last week. Now, we were able to sort of illustrate where these videos meet visually last week, but now we can actually create events that happen when those two videos correlate. And I'll talk just briefly about that, and that's what mostly this video is about. So right here you can see that there's these this sprite animation that's being triggered. It's activated when when the two figures meet like this, right? So if I click on this, it actually will trigger a full screen video to play back, and then it'll return back to the initial level. So and then let me find another one here. So maybe right there, this guy. And then I'll find where those two meet. So again, there's another animation that's triggered, an event that's triggered when you have these two videos that are correlated. I'll click on it, and what it does is it triggers this vignette, right? Please forgive the placeholder content for now, But you can see, I'm going to stop this for now. So again, you can see the system at work, right? We have two videos in this case, and the way that I developed these templates is that we can have as many panels as we want, and we can arrange them in any way we want as well. So right now I'm clicking on the video mesh, right, the video panel. So right now we have two different video panels. So the challenge here is to ask our audience to do this scrubbing, to search through the movement, search through the videos to find different moments where the two videos meet. And there's not just one answer to that, right? There's not just one place where they meet. They can meet in several different places, and those different places trigger different kinds of events as far as they create different paths through the work. So it's hard to kind of imagine right now because of this placeholder content, and of course it's still very early, but you can see that some of the foundations are being built here to create these. So first of all, to create an interaction. So a relationship, a haptic relationship between the actual video content and the audience or the viewer. So that's one. And then also to think about a feedback. So different types of things events that are triggered because of those interactions. So that's the same level that we saw last week. And I'm going to open up a second level here just to show that, again, this template is sort of prefabricated. So we can actually, when we design levels, we can go in and drop in, we can design different content and have different arrangements of these videos around the screen space. So in this one, there's a top-bottom orientation. So similar mechanic. If I click on it, it activates it. And then I can kind of scrub through these. And let's see, so in this case, they'll do this one. And then I'll try to find the point where those two meet here. And voila. So there's this other. So this one obviously has a different correlative point that triggers the animation. And this level here, I just kind of threw this together yesterday quickly, so I actually don't have the buttons yet here, but that's soon to come. But it's relatively easy when you start to build these templates or prefabricated components within the level, within the scenes. It gets easier and easier to kind of put these things together to arrange different scenes moving forward. But there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to do with this project. But I do want to show you just sort of quickly some of this frame matching, because the way that we're approaching the relationship between the two videos, and since we want to be working with something more cinematic or video content, image content that is more cinematic or narrative in nature, the property that we want to evaluate in these videos is going to be frames or different percentages of the duration of the video, right? So if we want to say that 5%, or we could say that frame 502 in video 1 and frame 830 in video 2, that is a correlation point, we can do that, and we can just basically fill some sort of array with that, and then but we can design that, and we can make those sort of creative decisions about where the different relationships are going to happen. And when I highlight this frame matching object here, you can see in this script that I've written, again, these are foundational materials. These are sort of things to get us running, get us testing content. There's much more optimization that needs to happen here, but you could see that we can get things going and get things working. We can see results. We can see what sort of works or what doesn't work. But in this script, you can see that you can actually tell the level how many panels there are. So in this case, or in both the levels that we saw, there's 2. And then you see these ranges, right? And the range maxes and the range mins, those are going to be the cushions around the actual frames, so that the audience doesn't have to scrub to exact frames. They can scrub to a small range of frames and still get that entry into a new level or trigger that certain event. So we have those, and those are set up that we can just enter that data in here, and we can enter it in sort of any order that we want. And then also within this same script, you can see that there's the sprite location, and we can enter those in as well. So those sprite locations, that's the animation that we saw that sort of illustrates where that would be more of a UI element where it would just draw the audience or the viewer into the place where they're supposed to click, right? So this is seems like small progress. I mean, when I show the actual video, really the progress, it seems like, okay, well, great. Now you have a sprite animation that plays when these two things correlate. It's like, okay, great. But the reality is that there's just, it's not only about getting that, kind of hacking that together to get it working, but trying to figure out a structure, trying to figure out the program that's going to actually last and be somewhat optimized and kind of lead us into the next phase, if that makes any sense. I hope it makes some sense. So trying to make, build strong foundation or building strong technical prototypes so we don't get kind of lost in the weeds having to like redo a lot of code early on. But again, not going too far with optimization in the code because some things might not work, so we might have to throw a bunch of stuff away. But this is enough to get us going, and really in the next couple of months, we're going to pretty quickly have to start working with real content or real footage in order to kind of illustrate, give a better idea about what this piece is going to look like.